We have two sides on the debate, two sharp sides on this debate, 18 or 16. That's what we are debating. Subramaniam Swamy and Aryaman Sundaram, senior leader of the BJP and senior advocate of the Supreme Court respectively. And on the other side, we have Vrindra Grover, human rights lawyer and activist, Neena Nayak, former member of the NCPCR, and Sudha Ramalingam, advocate and human rights activist. Should we argue factually, ladies and gentlemen? Should we keep the debate factual tonight? Okay, I presume that's a yes from everyone? Yes. Okay. Because the facts are not in favor of keeping the age limit at 18, Vrindra Grover. The number of rapes committed by juveniles shows a 60% increase in 2013 compared to 2012. These facts do not, and these are just juvenile rape. The highest increase in the incident of crimes committed by juveniles was observed under the head, Vrindra Grover, assault on women with an intent to outrage her modesty, that's 132.3%, followed by insult to the modesty of women, 70.5%, and rape, 60.3%. Factually speaking, there is no argument here. You have to lower the juvenile age, don't you?
All right, can I answer now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the data that you have shown to us, actually another part of the data which you did not inform your audience is that the juvenile committing rape has actually dropped from 4.7 to 4.1 from 2012 to 2013. This is the NCRP data. What you are telling us is that there is a rise. That rise even now constitutes 1.2% of the total crimes committed under the IPC. Secondly, yes, there are juveniles committing the crime. There is no denying the fact. Why is there this sudden spurt in 1 year in the crimes committed by age group of 16 to 18? There is a rational reason for this. Under the Criminal Law Amendment Act, the statutory age of rape was raised from in 1983 it was 16 years, and in 2013 it was changed to 18 years. This is the age bracket where a lot of young people actually have consensual sexual relations. However, due to parental and other social forces, an FIR is lodged, and those cases then are actually expanding this category. Those of us who appear in courts, though 2 days ago I was at a judicial training.
That's an extremely anti-victim argument, I think.
Ballooning this category. Sorry?
It's a very anti-victim argument.
This is what the figures.
You dismiss incidents of potential rape as a consensual sex.
Statistics in themselves do not ever tell a full story. Please read the statistics correctly.
I've read the statistics.
I work in the trial court. I work with women victims. I work with this category of people. So I know where these figures are coming from. Secondly, this very issue was, just half a minute. This issue was raised by Dr. Swamy before the Supreme Court in a petition filed by him. I appeared in the Supreme Court on behalf of child rights and women's rights groups. The Supreme Court in March 2014 held in our favor that based on international opinion, based on current jurisprudence, the age should not be changed even for heinous crimes, reaffirming the Supreme Court's decision of 2013.
I am talking in a very...
Should the law be changed?
Okay, now you've given your point of view. I'll now invite the other side. I will just say this. I am speaking from a very common person point of view that almost every second incident of gang rape we hear was some of the most brutal in this country, whether it is the Shakti Mills gang rape,
all rapes
right, most of the recent ones which have been played up in the media in a big way include those not just of juveniles but of repeat offenders. In fact, I will only ask you here, Vrinda, and I want to put this to Subramaniam Swamy, that does your heart go out for cases like the one in September 2013 where a juvenile convicted for raping and murdering a 6-year-old girl upon his release threatened to do the same thing to the younger daughter of the family? I mean, there are people who feel tremendously insecure with this kind of legal cover. Subramaniam Swamy's turn.
Let us talk.
Now his turn. Now his turn, I'll come back to you. He listened to you. Now his turn, and I know you're on other sides, and then I'll come back to you. Subramaniam Swamy.
First of all, I want to remove one confusion. that no one is advocating that the cutoff age for juvenile should be lowered from 18 to 16 or whatever. We are only saying that for certain heinous crimes, there should be an exception made, and that exception is that in these heinous crimes, the person who is below 18 and has committed such crime, he should be treated as an adult.
Yeah.
This is all that we are saying. And may I say, this is there in the Juvenile Justice Act as passed by Parliament in 2000, in the rules, where in Rule 4 they quote the Beijing rules to say that the cutoff the age should be determined by the emotional and intellectual maturity of the person committing a heinous crime. It is there in the 1989 Rights of the Child Convention also. Now, what the Supreme Court said, and no one should be allowed to mislead this panel on this, the Supreme Court did say that we find no reason to set aside the Act. However, we do acknowledge that what Mr. Swamy says about reading into the law, I did not ask for striking down the law, reading into law this exception, this only Parliament can do. And that's why we are back to Parliament today to ask for Parliament to change it. Now, the question is not so much statistics itself, that itself is very serious as you pointed out, but I say the victims have rights too. When Nirbhaya lost her life at the prime of her career, she was about to begin a promising career, she had rights, Article 21 rights, fundamental rights, the right to life. She was deprived of it in a most brutal, systematic way. Why should I treat this as a juvenile? He should be treated as an adult and given the punishment that is due for an adult. So the key question is mens rea. Was there intent or not? When you commit rape and you commit murder, it's not like stealing a bicycle or running away with a pastry in a bakery shop. It's a totally different crimes, and therefore for where this kind of mens rea is there, we have to make an exception, and that is all that we are asking.
What is more important, Neena Nayak and Sudha Ramalingam? No, one sec. After that, Ariman Sundaram will complete the first round, and by the way, it's open debate. Feel free to come in. The first two sides have given their point of view. The question at this stage is, what is more important, Neena Nayak, Sudha Ramalingam? Security to the victims and potential victims, or security to the accused and potential accused? What is more important? Why do we work in this politically correct system where we do not care about how people think, the insecurity that is spread? We hear of cases of teenage and young girls being raped at will by repeat offenders. Many of them always minors, they all get away. Would one be secure if after 2 or 3 years of some juvenile home, they come out on the streets and commit that kind of offense again? Neena Nayak, keep in mind.
Arnab, first of all, Arnab, I object to your whole one-sided, lopsided approach. You're already slanting to the other side, saying that these children should get punishment. That's one. The second one is...
No, the Supreme Court has said it.
In the Juvenile Justice Act, there is something called place of safety. Now, if these children have committed any crime, heinous crime also, they need to go into a place of safety. The Juvenile Justice Act very clearly indicates that, where you have service, where you have rehabilitation, you have cognitive therapy, everything for them to mainstream them or to get them into life to change it. And look at the background of these children.
The nature of the offense.
Of 2011,
the nature of the offense does not matter.
Come from such deprived background. Why don't we think of where they come from?
And what about the victims? What about the victims? What about the victims? What kind of argument is that? The accused come from deprived backgrounds, so if you are poor, you have a right to rape? If you are poor, you have a right to rape, Miss Neena Nayak? What kind of argument is that?
We know that these are heinous crimes. We agree to that.
No, but how can you say what kind of backgrounds these people come from? What did you mean by that?
What are the antecedents? What kind of a social life do these children have? How have they been exploited as children? Why are they there?
I have just one question for you, Ms. Nayak. On the 4th of June 2014, a 13-year-old girl was gang raped by 3 boys, 2 of them minors, at Badalpur in Greater Noida. She was a class 7 student. 1 second.
I agree.
She was a class 7 student. She was a class 7 student. All the 3 boys were minors. I want to ask you today, what happens to that girl? will you say she comes from a very privileged background?
There is something called restorative justice. There is something called restorative justice. Let's approach, use that system. Let's find out why.
Ma'am, this is now, Aryaman Sundaram.
Rehabilitation.
Okay, so Aryaman Sundaram wants to come in.
We are as sympathetic to the victim as the child who has committed such a crime.
Should the severity of the crime have no consequence in these cases? Should there be no room for discretion instead of a blanket rule?
The system doesn't approach these children correctly. These systems, this child of Nirbhaya case,
Miss Nayak, Sudha Ramalingam. Okay,
to the law.
Since I am pitting myself against you in this debate, my question is that doesn't it seem ridiculous, Sudha Ramalingam, that a boy who picks pockets and a boy who commits rape are subjected to the same law? If you are old enough to commit such a heinous crime, should you not be old enough to serve the time?
You're absolutely right in a way and you're wrong in another way. You're right in saying that there could be a classification of crimes, but you should also understand who is committing this crime, under what circumstances, and why do they commit these crimes.
Why they commit?
No,
one second.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
Ma'am, this is now becoming ridiculous.
The very purpose of punishment is for reformation.
Now, how can you say why they commit rape?
The philosophy behind the... Wait a minute, please.
Ma'am, you're a human rights activist. How can you say why they commit rape or what background they come from?
Kindly wait a minute, let me finish.
Is there a reason and justification for an act of rape?
Crime. Wait a minute, let me finish my sentence. We do not justify any crime. All that we say is punishment should have its own philosophy. Punishment is not for retribution. Punishment is for reformation. And in a system where if you are going to put these young children along with the hardened criminals, do you think you can ever have a reformation? And what is it that you are talking about? We do not under any circumstance.
You can argue.
Any crime whatsoever.
No, Miss Ramalingam.
All that we say is...
Okay. One second. Aryaman Sundaram. Aryaman Sundaram coming to the debate. Vrindra Grover, I see your hand go up. I'm coming to you after that. Yes, Aryaman Sundaram.
Arnab, I think we are...
Aryaman Sundaram, please. No,
Arnab, I think that... Ms. Ramalingam, may I come in, please? Arnab, I think that Ms. Ramalingam is coming from a basic erroneous premise, which is that the purpose of punishment is purely reformative. I'm afraid that is not so. Punishment has three roles to it. One, it's deterrence, it's retributive and reformative. And that is the theory of punishment which is judicially accepted. It is accepted in all countries. Allow me to finish, madam. Please allow me to finish. Which is allowed and approved in all countries in the world. Nobody is saying reformation should be thrown out of the window. Allow me to finish, please. Nobody is saying that reformation should be thrown out of the window. Not at all. But the fact is there's also deterrence and retribution. Now what I am concerned with is not an artificial chronological age, changing an age from 18 to 16. I don't agree with that concept at all. In some countries you have an age of 12, you have an age of 14. That is not the test. The test is today's world is that person who has committed the crime, and I use the word person. I don't use the word juvenile. Is the person who committed the crime aware of what he was doing, of the gravity of what he was doing? Did he have, as what Mr. Swami said, the mens rea, which means did he have the intent to commit a wrong knowing it was wrong? If that knowledge is there, then I do not think
Vrindra Grover says it doesn't matter.
Age of 18 or 17 and a half, because it's ridiculous for me to think that I can think of a boy of 17 years, 364 days who commits a rape and he is okay.
And
but if one day later he does the same thing, he can be given the most extreme sentence. What it really is the intent behind the act. And that is why I say heinous crimes, take a crime like rape, for example. Please do not compare it with other crimes. When you are talking a crime by rape, like rape, the person doing it knows exactly what he's doing. He cannot do it if he didn't know what he was doing and didn't intend to do it.
In fact,
he was incapable of doing so. Now let's take crimes like this. Can we bring an artificial divide? Chronologically, forget about the person against whom the act has been perpetrated. Forget about society at large and just say, look here, he hasn't reached that magic age of 18. He's only 17 years, 364
Exactly.
days. Therefore, he will not
Exactly.
be punished.
And that's
It's
what
totally
happens.
artificial. Go on the mind. You have countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, which do not stick to an 18-year limit. They have different ages.
Absolutely,
even
they
as Mr. Swami
don't.
said, even the
No, they don't.
The Committee of Human Rights said it has to be the emotional and mental age of the person.
I'm not even.
And I say, even if someone is 40 years and doesn't have the mental health and doesn't realize the gravity of what he's doing, he should equally not be punished. But if you're aware and you know your crime, you know what you're doing, you know the gravity of it, you intend to do it, I do not think there should be an artificial
And in fact,
divide.
I just want to point out some startling statistics, because Ms. Grover has decided today she will not believe my statistics, but she will agree with me. According to Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, close to 22%, Ms. Brinda Grover, of all juvenile criminals in National Capital Region of Delhi were repeat offenders. Point number one. Point number two, you can argue that you don't send a 16-year-old boy, even if he's committed the most heinous act of gang rape, to death. But surely there is no reason not to send that person into prison for life, or at least for 5 to 7 years. Third point, and Ms. Grover, on this perhaps you're on weak ground, consider France, consider UK, consider the US, all of them say that a person is liable for the crimes when they are capable of discernment. When you can discern your crime, you are liable to be punished. Three arguments against you, Ms. Grover, and then Subramaniam Swamy can respond to you once again. Yes, Ms. Grover.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Now, what is ridiculous in this debate, actually, since that's the word that's been thrown repeatedly by people arguing on the other side, is that this argument is being made out based on statistics and citing countries without actually probing into what those statistics are showing, or what studies in countries which have adopted the waiver system.
We have read the laws in those countries.
Can I please finish? I did not interrupt anyone. In the US Supreme Court, which is being cited for its waiver system, recently the US Supreme Court cited in two of its judgments a recent development in neuroscience, which says that that part of the brain of a juvenile develops last. And actually they say the time that it takes to develop goes right up to 21. We are stopping at 18, which is the part which gives you, and it's not cognitive ability, it's about psychosocial maturity, where you are able to resist peer pressure. Juveniles are being caught in crimes committed by gangs, more than one person.
Ma'am, we are talking about 16 to 18. We are not talking about 13.
Please do not interrupt. You have a position on this, and you said we will argue factually, so let's hear facts now. Studies and science tells us facts. These people are susceptible to negative influences. That is why the age of 18 is made. It's based after India came to that decision.
But so is every person who comes from a deprived society capable of negative influences. Does that mean you do not punish him?
May I finish? May I finish? You will get your answer if you will be patient. India took the decision to shift from 16, which was the age under the Juvenile Justice Act of 1986, to changing it to 18, which was the age which was done in 2000.
Peer pressure
after
argument,
much deliberation, not only within India. Okay, so do we want to punish them? What is the purpose of punishment? I agree.
I have a simple question for you.
And reformative. The point is, will it act as a deterrent? No, it
I have
will
a simple question for you.
The juvenile cannot be deterred by this.
I have a simple question for you.
And please do not exploit the woman victim for your purpose.
Miss
Victim
Grover,
will be safer.
Miss
Women
Grover,
in this country will be safer if we are able to
Miss
reform
Grover,
juveniles
I will now invite
rather than throw them in Tihar jail.
Miss Grover,
just one last
Miss Grover,
question to you, Arnab. Last
1.2.
question. Arnab, give us the statistics of those who come out of Tihar jail and commit repeat offenders. Please present those statistics on this show.
Okay, so here you are, Miss Grover, since you asked for it. Thank you very much. I never miss a chance when I am asked on facts. According to the Juvenile Justice Board, the Delhi police and the authorities at Tihar, between
the Tihar
10 to...
jail.
Yeah, Tihar, ma'am, Tihar.
No, adults.
Ma'am, Tihar, I'm giving you Tihar information. You asked for Tihar. Between 10 to 15% of juveniles.
Adult repeat offenders.
And now when I'm giving you information from Tihar, next you'll say don't give me information from Tihar, give me information from Tihar.
Adult repeat offenders from Tihar jail.
Ma'am,
adult repeat offenders of Tihar jail.
Ma'am, please listen to me. Listen to me. Out of 850 under trials in Tihar at the end of 2012, 8.65% were juvenile criminals turned adult offenders. Most, Miss Vrinda Grover, you'll be interested to know, were accused of murder and robbery. Now, I have a counter question to you. My question is, no, answer question. No, my counter question. Now my counter question.
Repeat offenders of adult convicts.
Ma'am, my counter question to you. My counter question to you is, this whole argument is,
but
I'm sorry to say.
But you didn't answer my question, Arnab. You have all the data at your command.
I have some data and I've shared this with you. Between 10 to 15% of juveniles accused of serious crimes go on to become repeat offenders as adults.
Convicts.
As adults.
Convicts.
As
Only
adults.
then can we compare whether pushing them into the adult prison system is going to be helpful or not.
Ma'am,
that is how you will gauge it.
Ma'am, I feel I have successfully proven there has been a rise in the number of repeat offenders. You don't want to accept my facts, that's something else.
No. But will we putting them in Tihar jail in an adult prison, will it be helpful?
Ma'am, my question
will there not be more repeat offenders?
Okay, take my question. Take my question now. It's clear to me, Ms. Grover, that on this you and I on other sides, but I will listen to you with patience. But listen to my question with patience. My question is today, this argument, I have great personal regard for you and for your skills as a lawyer. But Ms. Grover, when Mulayam Singh Yadav says boys will be boys, they will make mistakes, and you say because of peer pressure, some people make mistakes. How different is your argument from what Mulayam Singh Yadav says?
I don't say they make mistakes. Do not
You said peer pressure to rape?
No.
Peer pressure to rape?
I said neuroscientists say that.
Ma'am, peer pressure to rape?
I'm sorry. This is complete manipulation.
Peer pressure to
rape? You said let's speak on facts.
Peer pressure to rape? In what context did you use the word peer pressure?
You are interested. In making personal allegations against me.
Why did you use the word peer pressure?
I am saying this is a neuroscientist brain analysis. Have you any interest in
brain analysis which tells you there is peer pressure to rape? And hence we should be forgiving about it?
It is peer pressure to what? Please understand, Arnab, you have a much more evolved mind than to say that I am saying peer pressure makes you make mistakes. I take great personal offense. As somebody who is fighting for women's rights,
then why did you speak of peer pressure?
As you manipulating what I have said.
No, why did you speak of peer pressure?
Please do not do this on your show.
Why did you speak of peer pressure?
Because neuroscience explains the development of the brain.
Okay, so I'll give you an example.
Them,
so Ms. Grover, here's an example.
Now listen to the answer. Please listen to the answer now. If you were to convict such a person, put him into the adult prison system, the person is going to come out a worse and hardened, many times repeat offender. Here is a brain that is developing. If put into a rehabilitative system with appropriate monitoring and guidance, which we do not do, only then can the brain develop in a different way. Okay. That is the argument, not how you are trying to make a reductionist argument.
Let Mr. Swami respond to this. I'll tell you that in May 23rd, 2014, if you go to the news archives, a girl who's not yet 9-year-old is raped, gang raped by 3 minor boys in Jabalpur. Right? The 3 boys who are her neighbors enter the house and gang rape her, taking turns in front of her 6-year-old sister, according to an FIR filed by the mother at the police station. Now, you can't say the brain has not evolved yet. There is some kind of peer pressure. New psychologists and neuroanalysts say that.
We have to figure out what kind of systems will be put in place.
System is punishment. That's all. Subramaniam.
Why stop at 16?
No,
Why stop at 16? Let's go to 8.
Come on.
Why stop at 16?
Sorry.
Let's go to 8.
Subramaniam. Okay, here the other side. Subramaniam Swami.
Well, see, first of all, this concept of data as an argument is, in my opinion, a supplementary argument. The more fundamental argument is the nature of the crime committed and whether you should hold the person below the age of 18 responsible for that. And this is what Sundaram very correctly pointed out. If you have the intention and it is established that you have an intention to commit that crime, he must be punished for it. It's not a question of whether it is reducing the future crimes or not. We are not concerned with that. The person robbed somebody else of his rights and therefore must be punished. Now, take for the case of Kasab. He actually pleaded for relief under the Juvenile Act in the Bombay court, and unfortunately didn't have the certificates, so the judge rejected it. And in the case of another terrorist, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he had in fact set aside this argument. Even though the person was a juvenile, he still said that this should not, relief should not be given to him, and convicted him. And the question therefore today is entangled with the ideological aspect. Now there is a view taken on so many things which has now got entangled with ideology. Take for example the question of homosexuality. The same way in this also, there is a left-wing view of this, of promiscuousness, allow everybody
what's the left-wing,
freedom,
right-wing in
be liberal, whereas we say no, there has to be a punishment system, and that punishment system has to be employed where the crime is heinous. We are not asking for a lowering of the age. We are only saying that where this such a crime is committed, there should be a
firstly,
waiver.
Mr. Dr. Swami, there is no link between this and homosexuality. There is nothing left-wing, right-wing about it, and Brinda Grover feels now that you are straying from facts. That you are straying from facts.
I am not reporting any facts. I am telling you this is an ideological dispensation. Most of the child rights groups are getting money from abroad. They are NGOs whose business it is to continue this.
Now, Mr. Swami, Nina Naik and Brinda Grover, Nina Naik.
We have seen that in the anti-nuclear agitation also.
Now you are completely going the other way. Yes, you are diluting your own case, Mr. Dr. Swami.
I am not question of diluting. I am giving you a perspective.
About reformation. Arnab, let's talk about reformation. Let's not talk about punishment. Let's see what are we giving these children now. Let's assess it. Let's have data. Okay, a child has committed a very heinous crime, absolutely condemnable. We will not accept it. But what are we offering this child 3 years, 5 years down the line? Absolutely nothing.
Punish him.
Are we working with the family? Are we working with the child?
And what are we giving? What are we giving the victims? What are we giving? What are we giving the unsuspecting victims? What are we giving the 10-year-old victims? The minor victims whose lives are traumatized. What are we giving them?
We have to get the best of rehabilitation services. We have to get the best of rehabilitation services.
So, and severity of crime is no consequence. No consequence.
Definitely it is a consequence. Definitely it is a consequence.
Arnab, can I...
In this
Aryaman Sundaram. Mr. Sundaram.
Yeah, you know, I want to point something out, Arnab. Nobody is against reformation. Reformation, in fact, is a utopian, I would say even utopian, but let me say a totally ideal concept. The fact is that is not what we are talking about. The same reformation we are talking about for a juvenile is reformation we should plan for every person who has committed a crime. You talked about, look at the background, look at where they've come from,
yes,
see the conditions of these children. I agree with you. Equally, look at the condition of most of the people who have committed crimes even as adults. They are not people who have all the luxuries of life or have everything else. Very often they're driven to it because of the same peer pressure, same background they come from. But that is not the question. The question is very simply this. If a person commits a dastardly act, like someone said, it's not stealing a pastry from a bakery. If he has committed a dastardly act, an act which is reprehensible, knowing what he is doing, aware of the consequences, aware that what he is doing is not correct.
I want a simple answer from you. Aryaman Sundaram, I want a quick answer with limited time. Aryaman Sundaram. What are Nina Naik, Brinda Grover and all are arguing? I want you to respond to it, so I'll get a response from the other side. They are saying that the purpose of the Juvenile Act is reformative action. If you send a 15 or 16-year-old to prison and handle out the severest penalty, you are ruling out the possibility of reformation altogether.
Yes, so they have committed the crime of a bicycle, stealing a bicycle or a pastry from a bakery, but not rape. That is depriving somebody else of the total dignity, in fact, even of life.
Absolutely quick last response, Brinda Grover.
Arnab, can I add to that? Can I add one thing to that?
The very purpose of punishment itself is being defeated by such arguments. The punishment is only definitely for reformation, and it is not for retribution.
You cannot reform the rapists in the Nirbhaya case. You cannot reform them. You cannot reform them.
For satisfaction of the victim's family.
Arnab, I have one question.
Ariman Sundaram.
Kasab was a juvenile.
Ariman Sundaram.
Would all of them say he should have been let off?
Who?
I have
Yes.
this one question to everybody.
Correct.
We don't
If
say he should
Kasab
be let
was
off.
a
We
juvenile,
only say
if
there
he
should
was
be means
17
to
years
reform
and 11
them.
months, do you all feel he should have been let off?
Answer that, Brinda Grover. The question is about
We do
Ajmal
not say
Kasab.
that they should be let
I
off.
heard him. I heard him very loud and clear. People are very loud on your show. I hear them clearly. Can I just say two things here? First of all, except for the men on this panel, and I say this in all humility, I don't need to go to a news archive to see what is happening with the women. That is my daily work. The girls, minor girls who are getting raped, how to engage with their families, how to rebuild their lives and the lives of those little girls, that is what all of us work with. Those minor boys are not just the age of 16. The tragedy, the horror of our society is they are way below 16 also. We are dealing with a very, very grim and grave situation. I am not going to answer ticking bomb kind of questions. I am interested. The women of this country are interested not just in creating sensation and hanging 4 men, 5 men, 6 men. I am interested in creating a situation where my freedom,
Madam,
My
you are not
safety is
speaking for
enhanced.
all the women of
This
India.
law-
I'm sorry.
May I please speak? I do not interrupt anybody.
The
I
nation is
request you not to
answering
interrupt
now,
me. The question that you are asking is, and I'm surprised Mr. Sundaram says so, that the mens rea has to be there. The mens rea is also in a theft case. Surely we know that. That's
But we are
basic
talking of a
criminal
rape
law.
case.
What we are talking about is a heinous crime, right? So in a heinous crime, will this form of penology, will it in any way add to what is being done to the juveniles is the only question before us. If you were to
The
ask
sympathy-
the victim of somebody who's been killed in a truck accident, they would probably
But Ms.
want the
Grover,
truck
your
driver's
sympathy
hand.
for the accused
That
is
the
shocking.
nature of human being.
Where is your
cannot-
sympathy for the
I am
victim?
not for the accused. I am for women. You
No,
all
what
are
about the
only
sympathy
interested in one or
for
two
the victims?
sensational cases. That
Where is your
the
sympathy for the
I don't need
victims?
sympathy. I stand by. You can sympathize. I stand by the victim. I stand by them through their struggles. You can sympathize them on one show. The sympathy for them is not required. They want freedom and equality.
And you think they will get
safety.
freedom and
How will that
equality if
happen?
all the
Not
potential
by
rapists are out on the streets?
You are going to create more and more hardened criminals, because that is the only thing.
No, you
this
think
kind of
no
retributive
no
justice is going to get.
you think that by
We
you
have
think
a problem. We have a problem.
No, my
on
question
hand.
is my
the problem is in the juvenile justice system.
our 16-year-old.
I want you to do one program
Our 16-year-old.
telling the government why is it not implementing the Juvenile Justice Act properly. Can
But
we
she
have
has not
one show?
answered
Subramaniam Swamy, last question. Subramaniam Swamy.
Do this work.
She has
Subramaniam
not
Swamy.
answered Sundaram's question. If Kasab was 17
I did.
years, 11 months, 29 days, would she have said he is
said I
entitled
will
to
not
juvenile
answer
justice?
Hypothetical ticking bomb. I will not answer
Hypothetical.
hypothetical
It
ticking
nearly
bomb kind
happened.
of questions. I am a law student. I know what the trick here is.
Ma'am, since you're a law student, you know that the Supreme Court in its judgment in March this year also said it is for the legislature to decide whether or not
That's
the
right.
age limits needs to
The
be reduced,
legislature
and that
decided. The
is
legislature will
precisely
not
what the
decide on
legislature
rules.
is doing now.
The legislature will decide on evidence.
And that is what the legislature is doing now. I think we have a big debate coming on this. We'll have to extend this.
Legislature, this is
We will
debate. That's why we are having a debate.
we're willing to have a longer debate on this. And I think we should. Thank you very much for joining me.
Committee, I think a media team of media persons must visit our children's homes, our observation homes, our special homes, our places of safety which don't exist.
Ma'am,
at all,
including
and
the
then you
children
can
who are
decide
the
what you want to
victims.
do next.
Also the homes of the girls who were raped. You should visit them and
We
see
go
their
there.
parents.
We go there.
What physical...
At that point, I thank everyone for joining me on debate number 2 on the Newshour tonight.